Steelers Nation, welcome back to the channel. As always, this team is working every single day to get better, to adjust, and to put themselves in position to bring home big results. That's the standard here in Pittsburgh, and you know it as well as I do. We don't settle for less. And before we dive into today's big news, let me ask you to do one quick thing. Smash that like button right now. It helps the channel grow, it helps more Steelers fans join in on the conversation, and it keeps us all connected throughout this season. Now, let's get into the breaking news coming out of Pittsburgh. The Steelers are preparing for their Week 2 matchup against the Seattle Seahawks, but unfortunately, the injury bug has already taken a serious bite out of this roster. The biggest headline? Cornerback Joey Porter Jr. will not be suiting up against Seattle. The second-year defensive back is dealing with a hamstring injury that has kept him sidelined all week. Not only did Porter Jr. miss practices, but the team made it official that he won't be available for Sunday. That's a brutal blow. Porter Jr. was expected to be a cornerstone of the defense this season, especially with Pittsburgh's scheme built around having 3 reliable corners. With him unavailable, the Steelers are suddenly thinner at one of the most important spots on the field. Now, yes, the Steelers still have 2 elite veterans in Jalen Ramsey and Darius Slay Jr., who both played every snap in Week 1. But without Porter, the rotation shrinks, and guys like Brandon Echols may have to take on much bigger roles than originally planned. And here's where the concern grows. Let's not sugarcoat it. The Steelers' defense did not look like the typical Mike Tomlin unit in Week 1. Pittsburgh gave up 32 points and 394 total yards to the New York Jets. Justin Fields carved up the defense with 218 passing yards, 48 rushing yards, and 3 total touchdowns. Breece Hall gashed them on the ground with 107 yards on 19 carries. For a team that prides itself on defense, that was not the kind of performance Steelers Nation is used to seeing. Yes, the Steelers made the clutch stop at the end thanks to Jalen Ramsey knocking away that 4th down pass to Garrett Wilson. That was the defining play of the game. But overall, the defense looked shaky, inconsistent, and flat-out tired at times. Patrick Queen didn't mince words after the game either. He said, quote, "We played like shit today." And honestly, he wasn't wrong. Adding to the nerves, the Steelers' injury report at the end of the week included linebacker Alex Highsmith. He was listed with an ankle issue and was limited in Friday's practice. The good news is he has no game designation, which means he's expected to play against Seattle. That's a sigh of relief, because Pittsburgh cannot afford to lose another major defensive starter right now. Highsmith's presence is huge for balancing the pass rush alongside TJ Watt. Also on the good side of the news, Nick Herbig, who had a hamstring issue, and offensive lineman Calvin Anderson, who had been dealing with an illness, are both cleared to play in Week 2. While Highsmith is trending toward playing, the Steelers still have multiple confirmed outs besides Joey Porter Jr. Safety Deshaun Elliott is dealing with a knee injury and won't play. Defensive tackle Derek Harmon is also out with a knee issue. Neither practiced this week, which raises more concerns about depth on this roster. And with Porter Jr. sidelined, that's 3 defensive starters unavailable for a tough game against the Seahawks. So what does all of this mean for Sunday's showdown? The Seahawks may not have looked explosive against San Francisco in Week 1, but this is still an offense with real weapons. Geno Smith can push the ball downfield, DK Metcalf is a nightmare matchup, and Tyler Lockett is one of the most underrated receivers in football. Normally, having Porter Jr., Ramsey, and Slay would allow the Steelers to match up one-on-one and get creative with Ramsey floating into hybrid safety roles. But without Porter, the flexibility disappears. Pittsburgh may have to lean on more zone coverage, more safety help over the top, and potentially limit Ramsey's versatility. That's not what Mike Tomlin or defensive coordinator Terrell Austin want to be forced into, but injuries dictate adjustments. The question now is whether this defense can bounce back and look more like the group Steelers fans expected. Week 1 might have been an outlier. It was the season opener, there were communication breakdowns, and yes, the Jets' offense deserves credit for executing well. But with multiple key pieces out, the pressure is now squarely on the veterans. Ramsey and Slay have to lock down their matchups. Queen needs to rally the linebackers and bring the physical edge he's known for. And of course, TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith must generate consistent pressure to cover up some of the issues in the secondary. And let's not ignore this reality. Injuries this early in the season are never a good sign. Pittsburgh built its roster with depth in mind, but losing starters in the secondary and up front tests that depth in a hurry. The Steelers are trying to build momentum in 2025 with Rodgers under center and a revamped defense led by big names like Ramsey, Slay, Queen, and Watt. But momentum can be hard to find if the team is constantly patching holes from injuries. That's why Sunday against Seattle is more than just a Week 2 game. It's a test of resilience. It's a test of whether this roster has the toughness and next-man-up mentality that has always defined Steelers football. The Pittsburgh Steelers walked away with a nail-biting 34-32 victory in Week 1 against the New York Jets. On paper, that's a win. And let's be honest, it's always better to work on your mistakes after a win than after a loss. The offense was led by none other than Aaron Rodgers, who reminded everyone why the Steelers brought him to Pittsburgh. Rodgers was spectacular. 22 completions on 30 attempts, 244 passing yards, and 4 touchdowns. That's efficiency. That's command. That's the kind of quarterback play Steelers fans have been craving for years. But here's the part that doesn't sit right with fans or with the players themselves. That defense, the unit that was supposed to be the bedrock of this team, gave up 32 points and nearly 300 total yards. Justin Fields looked way too comfortable, Breece Hall ran wild, and the Jets' offense dictated the pace of the game for long stretches. Steelers fans were left asking, is this defense the powerhouse we were promised, or is it going to be a liability in 2025?
On Thursday morning, defensive captain Cam Hayward didn't dodge the questions. He didn't sugarcoat a thing. While speaking with Ray Fittipaldo, Hayward admitted flat out that the defense failed to live up to the Pittsburgh standard. That's not something you hear from a guy who's just trying to check boxes. It's the words of a leader who knows what Steelers football should look like. I don't think it's done in one game, Hayward said. We have to answer for that. Guys have to get off blocks. Up front, if we get doubled, we still have to maintain our gaps. Everyone has an assignment. Run defense isn't just an up-front job. It all works together. We can't make excuses for it, but we have to be better. That's the kind of accountability that makes Hayward more than just a Pro Bowl defensive lineman. He's the voice, the anchor, and the conscience of this Steelers defense. He's reminding everyone that it doesn't matter who's under center, whether it's Rodgers or anyone else. The Steelers' identity has always been rooted in physical, discipline, suffocating defense. If that slips, then the whole formula falls apart. So, what exactly went wrong in Week 1? Watching the tape, a few things stood out. Missed assignments. Too many defenders were out of position, giving Justin Fields wide running lanes and easy completions. Poor tackling. Several Jets plays that should have gone for short gains turned into first downs because the initial tackler didn't finish the job. Communication breakdowns. You could see moments where the secondary wasn't on the same page, leaving receivers open in critical situations. These are fixable problems, but they can't linger because if the Jets can do it, imagine what the Chiefs, Ravens, or Bengals will do later in the season if the same mistakes show up. Rodgers was brilliant, and that final drive that sealed the game showed just how much he elevates this team. But Hayward's warning is clear. You can't expect the offense to drop 30-plus points every week to cover for a defense that's leaking yards. Playoff football is different. When the weather gets cold and every possession counts, defense still wins championships, and Hayward knows it. Think back to the great Steelers teams of the past. The Killer Bees era? Talented, sure, but they couldn't get over the hump because the defense wasn't the steel curtain of old. Hayward doesn't want to see history repeat itself. Rodgers may be the difference maker at quarterback, but if the defense doesn't rise to its own standard, that Lombardi dream won't materialize. The good news is that Week 2 gives the Steelers an immediate chance to respond. They're up against the Seattle Seahawks, a team that has weapons, but also showed vulnerabilities in their opening game against the 49ers. This matchup is the perfect test for Pittsburgh's defense. Seattle's quarterback Geno Smith is a gamer, but he's not invincible. The Seahawks' offensive line is banged up, and their run game hasn't looked sharp. If the Steelers' defense shows up with intensity, discipline, and physicality, they could completely change the narrative in just 1 week. This isn't just about X's and O's. It's about pride, about sending a message that what happened against the Jets was a one-off, not a trend. Let's zoom out for a second. The AFC is stacked in 2025. You've got Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, Joe Burrow and the Bengals, Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, Josh Allen and the Bills, and yes, even the Jets with Fields and Garrett Wilson are a threat. For the Steelers to truly compete, they need balance. We already know Rodgers can lead the offense into shootouts. We saw George Pickens, Pat Freiermuth, and Jalen Warren all step up with big plays. The offense is ready, but the defense has to complement that with its own dominance. That's why Hayward's words matter so much, because he knows the window is now. Rodgers isn't here for a rebuild. He's here to win a Super Bowl in black and gold, and the defense has to match that urgency. The fans' perspective. I know a lot of you in the comments last week were thrilled with Rodgers' debut, but worried sick about the defense. And honestly, that's the right reaction. Steelers football isn't just about surviving games. It's about dictating them. It's about defenses that strike fear into opponents before they even step onto the field. That's the culture Hayward is demanding, and that's what this Week 2 matchup will reveal, whether the Steelers can get back to that standard. So here's the bottom line, Steelers Nation. Joey Porter Jr. is officially out against the Seahawks. Alex Highsmith is banged up but expected to play. Deshaun Elliott and Derek Harmon are also out. The defense is not at full strength, and that raises big questions heading into a game against the dangerous Seattle offense. The Steelers survived Week 1 despite giving up 32 points. Can they survive again without Porter Jr.? Can the veterans hold it down until the young corner is back on the field? And will Aaron Rodgers and the offense need to carry the load again? I want to hear from you. How concerned are you about this defense heading into Week 2? Do you think the Steelers can overcome the absence of Joey Porter Jr., or is this shaping up to be a bigger problem than we're admitting? Drop your thoughts in the comments below and let's get the debate going. And before you head out, don't forget, smash that like button if you enjoyed this breakdown, and subscribe to the channel so you never miss a single update on your Pittsburgh Steelers. We've got a long season ahead, and I'll be here breaking it all down with you every step of the way. Here we go, Steelers Nation.